It's time to talk about role-playing one of my favorite races, halflings. Welcome to the Attic Dungeon. My name is Sam, and whether you're just light on your feet or very lucky, I'm here to help you with everything. Would you like some shameless self-promotion? No? That's too bad. I'll be rather modest about it then. As always, thank you for watching my channel. I very much appreciate every like, every comment, every click on whatever I produce. And I invite you to click some more, subscribe a bit over here, click bells over there, and just keep enjoying my stuff. Thank you. On my journey through all the races and cultures in D&D, I have arrived at the halfling, one of my favorite races to play as, whether it's because they have a huge sense of wanderlust or they are still capable of being wondered by all aspects of the world. They are inquisitive, entertaining, light on their feet if you wish them to be, and just very fun to play as. As per usual, I'll be going over some traits that are somewhat logical for halflings, and I will be providing some story hooks that might be obvious or less obvious for a halfling, things that hopefully you hadn't thought of, but if you had, good on you, just go out and play a halfling. Obviously, since the rise of Lord of the Rings about 20 years ago, there's loads of people who know what halflings are and how they function. They are portrayed in a the Dungeons and Dragons halflings were directly based on the Tolkien halflings. We couldn't call them hobbits because of copyright, whoopsie daisy. But the idea is similar. You have these communities of family-loving, food-loving, rural area-loving, shorter creatures that are in general just out to live a peaceful life and have a good time, but they can be super dependable and brave in a pinch, and some of them are afflicted by the most severe case of the wanderlust you have ever seen, causing them to disappear and travel all around the world. And basically in between that description there's already a lot of room to develop a halfling adventurer. For example, it would be very common for a halfling adventurer to start from a position of defending their community. That's how I played mine 5 or something years ago. I played a halfling, a fighter/rogue, who actually just started out defending his local community and kind of got sucked into the greater story because of that. They love their family, they love home and hearth, so they will do everything to protect it, even leaving behind home and hearth in the hopes of eventually returning to it and finding it completely safe of all the dangers. So your halfling adventurer is more than willing to travel the world, but just not for gold and riches. If they pick some up along the road, they won't refuse them obviously, but your halfling will generally go out to provide a service towards his community, keeping it safe. Maybe the going out is not conscious, as I said. They are the typical race that just kind of get sucked into adventure and survive somehow. If you take the other end of the spectrum, obviously you have those halflings that have a severe case of the wanderlust. They just want to go out and explore the world. Might be because they're just young, you know, maybe they just have a phase where they want to get out, explore the world, and then get back to home and heart because they just kind of like it there. But there's also talks of halfling nomads who just travel around, who still keep that family feeling strong, that community feeling strong, but just don't settle in one place. They want to see the world, they want to feel everything, taste everything. It's not as much. I remember when I did the elf, I was like, you could have an elf craftsman who's seen enough of his home place, who has mastered everything they can master there, and heads out to perfect his craft. A hobbit, a halfling, is just purely happy and content, traveling to discover new things. They don't necessarily need to become better at something. They just want to experience the world. Maybe as a child they were told many legends of ancient dragons guarding over treasure hoards, or long lost cities and places that sound like an amazing place to discover. This might just have instilled your halfling to become adventurer of some sort, more an explorer who knows how to handle themselves in the wild than an active adventurer heading out to combat something. They just happen to be there and they're happy to travel with a party and share the sights of what they encounter. They might sometimes be a bit more aloof when it comes to the greater good, but nonetheless they will realize that if they want to keep traveling throughout the world, that the rise of Tiamat is going to put a hard stop to that, and hence it might be worth helping out the good guys for now. Now, what if we take both of those aspects away? A halfling who doesn't have the luxury of being able to explore, who doesn't have that strong community to fall back on. You might have a halfling who is looking for these things. He's just looking for a family and ultimately hopes to find a place where they can stay. I think it's always a strong storyline when you take a character and take away the things that ultimately make that race that race. A dwarf who's never been underground, a halfling who has no wonderful sense of family and community, but is severely looking for that sense. They will be exploring the world, but on a different basis. They're not out to taste every type of pint or weird radish they encounter. They're just out there looking for a place where they can belong. And maybe because of the peculiar set of skills that they have acquired, an adventuring party might be that family, and that will cause the halfling to become super protective of their party, which can be kind of fun that the shortest one in the party is the one trying their hardest to actually protect the people in there. One thing before I head into my final weird halfling idea, what I like to do with halflings is two things. First and foremost, make them competent. It's not because you come from a rural background and you've been a farmer or whatever that you are not competent at whatever your halfling is going to do. Mine, the fighter rogue, was a guard at a trading road. So they knew a lot of bandits were in the area and he kind of stepped up with his friends to keep the road safe. So he became a very capable fighter. He knew guerrilla tactics, he knew how to keep the road safe, and he could translate that into combat while with the party as well. So that's all good. But at the same time, if you grew up in these rural counties where you have little contact with larger cities or with the full magic experience that the Forgotten Realms offers you, I like to give halflings something that they are completely ignorant about. Mine obviously knew that magic existed, but had never experienced it up front, and I think that almost everybody else in the party knew how to cast magic except for my guy, so he was often in full awe of what magic could do, but sometimes also deeply terrified if a magical creature was fighting him. I remember fighting a fire elemental that was casting some type of raging inferno, and my guy was just standing in the inferno poking at the elemental because it was fire magic. He didn't know what to do and how to fight it. So, and that obviously doesn't go just for halflings, but for any type of character who didn't grow up in like an environment that has great knowledge of how the world works, is to have this one thing that you're super ignorant of and that you do not know how to handle well when out with an adventuring party. If you take the comforts of home are important type of halfling to the extreme, you could have this halfling who's constantly trying to do their best to please everyone. I think that's an extreme version of the normal halfling. When the party is making camp, they will do everything within their might to make sure that it's comfortable, that the food is warm and delicious, that everybody is at ease. They will become the camp mom, basically. But this could also penetrate into how they handle conflict. Maybe they are super uncomfortable with conflict because in their upbringing there was very little of it. Like obviously sibling rivalry or parents being angry, sure, you can have that. But there was like no larger conflict. And for some reason this halfling got mixed up into this larger adventure, but it's still very much about avoiding conflict. Now obviously if you're playing party members like this, don't, like, if you get ambushed by a dragon, don't go like, oh no, but you know, is it really worth fighting for? But they might try to dissuade bandits from fighting because, you know, you have that big burly fighter with you, and are they really willing to risk life and limb for a few meager coins? Come on, have a cup of soup, sit down, have a chat. That might work. And again, this is going to be one halfling that is going to be very protective of the party, so if they are in danger, they will, I think, not hesitate to actually fight, to participate in combat. But in a lot of scenarios, because they want to avoid conflict, I think they will try to diffuse the situation and see what they can obtain. I think they're also super fun to play in like high stakes social gatherings where you have like mighty politicians discussing about dividing the land and which tribe gets how much money, and you're just, oh no, is everybody happy? Yes, but if you come to an agreement, then maybe we can do this and that. You know, politics mom, that sounds like a fun thing to do as well, and it's very halflingy, just taken a bit to an extreme measure. There we are. That is actually most stuff that I have to offer you for some halfling story hooks, or some ways of playing your halfling that veered a bit off the beaten path. I hope you enjoyed it all. I certainly do, because I love halflings. Ha! I hope to see you all again in 2 weeks in the Attic Dungeon.